The great crystal chamber of the Galactic Council hummed with energy as representatives from 12 different worlds gathered for their monthly meeting. The chamber floated in space between 3 stars, its walls made of living crystal that showed the beauty of the universe beyond. Each race had their own section, designed to meet their specific needs. Ambassador Zexthul stood at the center speaking platform, his 4 arms moving as he tried to make his point. His people, the Krillians, looked like tall gray beings with large black eyes. They were known for being careful and thinking ahead. Today, Zexthul was very worried. "Council members, we must talk about the humans," Zexthul said, his voice carrying through the translation devices. "I have spent 3 years studying this new species on the planet they call Earth. What I have found should concern us all." The other council members showed different reactions. The Etherians, beings of pure energy who appeared as floating blue lights, pulsed with what seemed like boredom. The Vextar representative, a collection of insect-like creatures that shared one mind, clicked their mandibles in what passed for laughter among their kind. "Humans are barely out of their home system," said Councillor Thrixon of the Nexari hegemony. The Nexari looked like tall, elegant beings with silver skin and no hair. "They only learned to travel faster than light 5 of their years ago. Why should we worry about such a young species?" Zexthul activated a holographic display that showed images from Earth. The other council members saw cities full of tall buildings, vehicles moving on roads, and ships in the water. "Look at their history," he said. "Only 200 of their years ago, they used animals to pull their transportation. 100 years ago, they learned to fly. 50 years ago, they left their planet. Now they travel between stars. Many species develop quickly once they discover technology," said Elder Mordun of the ancient Shadori. The Shadori were beings made of living crystal who had existed for millions of years. "This is not unusual. But look at how they develop," Zexthul insisted. The display changed to show human weapons. "They have a saying, 'Anything can be a weapon if you use it right.' In their history, they have turned farming tools into swords, chemicals meant for cleaning into explosives, and peaceful atoms into world-destroying bombs." The chamber grew quiet for a moment. Even the most advanced species had taken longer to develop such destructive capabilities. "They fight constantly," Zexthul continued. "In their recorded history, they have been at peace for less than 8% of the time. They have fought wars with sticks and stones, with metal weapons, with gunpowder, and with atomic energy. Each time they develop new technology, their first thought is often how to use it in battle." Commander Veltar of the Zephyrian fleet, a being that looked like a tall humanoid covered in scales, spoke up. "Many young species are violent. They usually calm down as they mature." "Do they?" Zexthul asked. "Let me show you something else." The display changed to show human space activities. They have been in space for only 50 of their years, but look what they have built. Military satellites, weapons platforms, and defensive systems. They have turned their entire home system into a fortress. "Perhaps they are simply cautious," suggested the Etherian representative, speaking through harmonic tones that the translators turned into words. "Cautious." Zexthul's voice rose. "They have taken every piece of space debris larger than their fist and turned it into either a weapon or a shield. They have built underground cities on their moon and armed them with railguns. Their asteroid mining operations double as military outposts. This is not caution. This is preparation for war." The Vextar Collective spoke with one voice through their representative. "You seem afraid of creatures that cannot even leave their own star system effectively." "I am afraid of what they will become," Zexthul replied. "Look at their biology. They come from a world that tried to kill them every day. Predators, diseases, natural disasters, even poisonous plants. They survived by becoming the most dangerous thing on their planet. They hunt in packs, They use tools, and they never give up. The display showed human soldiers in action. The council members watched as humans worked together with frightening efficiency, adapting to new situations quickly and using whatever was available as weapons or tools. Their brains are designed for problem-solving under stress, Zexthul explained. When they face a new threat, they do not just defend against it. They study it, learn from it, and then create countermeasures. They have a concept called adaptive warfare, where they change their tactics during battle based on what they learn from their enemies. Elder Mordun's crystal form glowed softly. You paint them as monsters, Ambassador. Surely they have positive qualities as well. They do, Zexthul admitted. They are loyal to their friends, protective of their young, and capable of great creativity and art. But these same qualities make them more dangerous, not less. Their loyalty means they will fight to the death for their allies. Their protective instincts mean they will do anything to defend their families. Their creativity means they will find ways to fight that we cannot predict. The chamber's main screen showed a human city at night, lights stretching as far as the eye could see. They have covered their entire planet with cities and roads and farms. In just 10,000 of their years, they went from small tribes to a global civilization. They have made tools to reach every part of their world, from the deepest oceans to the highest mountains. What exactly are you suggesting, Ambassador? Asked Counselor Thrixon. We should be very careful how we approach them, Zexthul said. If we must make contact, we should do so as equals, not as superior beings offering guidance. We should respect their independence and their right to develop as they choose. The Vextar Collective made their clicking sound again. You want us to treat these primitives as equals? They do not even have energy shields or plasma weapons. They do not need energy shields, Zexthul said quietly. They have something more dangerous. They have the ability to learn and adapt faster than any species we have encountered. Give them our energy shield technology, and within a year they will have improved it in ways we never thought possible. The vote was called quickly. Of the 12 council members, only Zexthul voted to approach humans with extreme caution. The others voted to classify humans as a minor species under standard observation protocols. Contact would be made when the council decided humans were ready for guidance. As the meeting ended and the representatives returned to their ships, Zexthul remained in the chamber, looking at the images of Earth still floating in the air. He thought about human history, about their wars and their victories, about their determination and their refusal to surrender even when facing impossible odds. I hope I am wrong, he said to the empty chamber. But I fear we have just made the greatest mistake in the history of the Galactic Council. The images faded, and the chamber grew dark. In the distance, Earth continued its orbit around its yellow star, unaware that its fate was being decided by beings among the stars. On the planet's surface, humans continued to build, to learn, to grow, and to prepare for whatever the universe might bring their way. 3 years passed since the Galactic Council's decision to monitor humanity. In that time, human technology had advanced at a pace that surprised even their observers. They had built new cities on Mars, established mining operations throughout their solar system, and developed faster ships that could travel between planets in days instead of months. The Council decided it was time for official first contact. Admiral Korth Avon of the Nexari hegemony commanded a fleet of 12 ships as they approached the edge of human space. The Nexari were proud of their diplomatic skills and their beautiful technology. Their ships looked like works of art, with smooth curves and surfaces that seemed to glow with their own light. This should be simple, Korth Avon told his officers, as they gathered in the flagship's command center. We offer them membership in the galactic community. They accept our guidance and everyone benefits. These humans will be grateful for our help. The Nexari had made first contact with dozens of species over the centuries. The pattern was always the same. The new species would be amazed by superior technology, eager to learn and happy to accept a junior position in the Galactic Order. There was no reason to think humans would be different. As the fleet moved closer to Earth, they were detected by human monitoring stations. Admiral Sarah Chen, commander of the Terran Defense Force, was in her office on the Luna base when the alert came through. "Admiral, we have 12 unknown ships approaching from outside the system," reported Lieutenant Martinez. "They're not using any propulsion system we recognize." Admiral Chen was a veteran of the Mars colony wars and the asteroid belt conflicts. She was known for her calm thinking under pressure and her ability to see problems before they became dangerous. "How long until they reach Earth?" "At current speed, about 6 hours, ma'am. Send a message on all frequencies. Tell them they are entering human space and should identify themselves. Also, send alerts to all military installations. I want our ships ready to move, but keep weapons powered down for now." The human message reached the Nexari fleet quickly. Admiral Korthaven was amused by the formal tone and the mention of human space. These creatures thought they owned their entire solar system after only a few years of space travel. "Send a reply," he ordered. "Tell them we come in peace and wish to speak with their leaders about an important opportunity." Both fleets moved closer to Earth. Human ships began taking positions throughout the solar system, not in an aggressive formation, but in a pattern that would allow them to respond quickly to any threat. The Nexari noticed this movement and made notes about human defensive thinking. The meeting was arranged to take place on a neutral station that humans had built at the edge of their solar system. It was a simple structure, built for function rather than beauty, but it had the advantage of being on territory that humans controlled. Admiral Chen arrived with a small team of diplomats, scientists, and military advisors. She wore the blue uniform of the Terran Defense Force, with medals showing her service in various conflicts. Her team was alert, but not hostile, ready for anything. Admiral Korthaven arrived with a much larger group, including representatives from several council species who had come to observe this historic moment. The Nexari wore robes that seemed to be made of liquid silver, and they moved with the confident grace of beings who had never doubted their superiority. "Welcome to human space," Admiral Chen said as the two groups met in the station's main conference room. "We are honored by your visit and curious about your purpose here." "We are representatives of the Galactic Council," Admiral Korthaven replied, his translator making his words sound formal and important. "We have come to offer your species a great gift, membership in the galactic community." He activated a holographic display that showed the Council's territory, hundreds of star systems connected by trade routes and communication networks. For over 2 million years, the Council has maintained peace and prosperity across this region of the galaxy. "We offer you the chance to join us and benefit from our knowledge and protection." Admiral Chen studied the display carefully. "This is impressive. What would membership involve?" "Simple requirements," said Counselor Velmaran, another Nexari diplomat. "You would place your military forces under Council oversight, allow us to guide your technological development, and accept our assistance in governing your colonies. In return, you would have access to advanced technology and the protection of our fleets." The human team exchanged glances. Admiral Chen's military advisor, General Rodriguez, leaned forward. "You're asking us to give up our independence." "We prefer to think of it as guidance," Admiral Korthaven said smoothly. "Young species often make mistakes that can be avoided with proper supervision. The Council has the experience to help you develop safely. What if we prefer to develop on our own?" asked Dr. Patel, the human science advisor. The Nexari representatives looked surprised by the question. "Why would you want to struggle alone when you could benefit from our help?" Counselor Velmaran asked. Admiral Chen stood up and walked to the window that looked out into space. Human ships could be seen in the distance, patrolling their territory. "Admiral Korthaven, we appreciate your offer, but we must decline. Humanity values its independence too highly to place itself under outside control." The mood in the room changed immediately. The Nexari had never had a species reject council membership. "Perhaps you do not understand the benefits we offer," Admiral Corthaven said, his voice cooling. "We understand perfectly," Admiral Chen replied. "You want us to give up our freedom in exchange for technology and protection. But we have always believed that freedom is worth more than safety." "Your military forces are primitive," said another council representative, a Vex-Tar who had remained silent until now. "Your ships use chemical rockets and metal projectiles. You cannot protect yourselves against the dangers that exist in the galaxy." General Rodriguez smiled grimly. "We've been protecting ourselves since before we left our home planet. We're pretty good at it." "Perhaps a demonstration would help," Admiral Corthaven suggested. "We could show you the difference between Council technology and your own capabilities." Admiral Chen considered this. "A peaceful demonstration?" "Of course. Simply a comparison of technological capabilities." The demonstration was arranged for the following day. Both fleets would show their abilities in a safe area away from any inhabited worlds. The humans brought 3 of their newest warships, sleek vessels armed with railguns, missile systems, and experimental energy weapons they had developed from captured alien technology obtained through previous encounters with raiders. The Nexari brought 1 ship, confident that it would be more than enough to impress the humans. Their vessel was twice the size of the largest human ship, with energy shields that could deflect most weapons and plasma cannons that could destroy asteroids. What the Nexari did not expect was how quickly humans learned. The demonstration began with both sides showing their defensive capabilities. The Nexari ship's energy shields easily deflected simulated attacks, while the human ships used speed and maneuverability to avoid incoming fire. Then the humans did something unexpected. Instead of trying to match the Nexari ship's power, they began working together as a coordinated unit. The 3 human ships moved in patterns that confused the alien targeting systems, attacking from multiple directions and using tactics that the Nexari had never seen before. "Interesting," admitted the Nexari weapons officer. "They adapt quickly to new situations." But Admiral Chen had ordered her ships to do more than just adapt. Human engineers had been studying the Nexari ship since it arrived, using every sensor they had to understand how its technology worked. During the demonstration, they tested theories about alien shield frequencies and weapon signatures. When the human ships finally attacked at full strength, their weapons had been modified to exploit weaknesses they had identified in the Nexari: shields. The alien ship's defenses failed within minutes, and only emergency protocols prevented serious damage. Admiral Corthaven stared at his displays in shock. "How did they penetrate our shields?" "We learned," Admiral Chen said simply over the communication channel. "It's what humans do." The demonstration ended with the Nexari fleet in full retreat and the Council representatives in emergency session. They had never encountered a species that could analyze and counter their technology so quickly. As the alien ships left human space, Admiral Chen watched them go from the observation deck of her flagship. "Send a message to all commands," she ordered. "Increase our defensive preparations. I don't think we've seen the last of the Galactic Council." She was right. In the council chambers, emergency meetings were already being planned. The members, who had dismissed Zexthul's warnings 3 years earlier, were now reconsidering their position. Humans were not reacting as expected, and that made them dangerous. The decision was made. If humans would not accept council guidance willingly, they would have to be forced to comply. Operation Starfall was authorized, and preparations began for a military solution to the human problem. 6 months after the failed diplomatic mission, the Galactic Council gathered in secret session. The Grand Chamber felt different now, filled with tension and worry instead of the usual calm confidence. The demonstration of human capabilities had shaken many council members, but pride and fear had combined to create a dangerous determination. "The human problem must be solved before it grows worse," declared Elder Y6 Thor of the Thermal Dominion. His people were beings of living, metal who had survived the destruction of their original star. Every day we wait, they become stronger and more dangerous. Admiral Corthaven stood before the council, his silver robes dimmed by the memory of his humiliation. They cannot be reasoned with. They refuse to accept guidance and show no respect for superior civilizations. If we do not act now, they will continue to develop weapons and defensive systems until they become a real threat. Ambassador Zexthul requested permission to speak. His warnings from 3 years ago had proven more accurate than anyone wanted to admit. Council members, I still believe we should approach this situation with extreme caution. The humans showed during our demonstration that they can learn and adapt faster than we anticipated, which is exactly why we must act quickly, interrupted Councillor Thrixon, before they have time to prepare better defenses. The vote was closer this time, but fear won over wisdom. Operation Starfall was approved by 8 votes to 4, with Zexthul and 3 others voting against military action. The operation would be swift and decisive. A combined fleet of 48 ships from 6 different council members would strike simultaneously at human military installations throughout their solar system. The goal was not to destroy humanity, but to cripple their military capabilities and force them to accept council authority. Fleet Admiral Dex Moran of the Cathari Empire was chosen to command the operation. The Cathari were experienced military strategists who had successfully conquered or pacified dozens of species over the centuries. Their ships were built for war, with heavy armor and weapons designed to overwhelm enemy defenses. The plan is simple, Admiral Dex Moran explained to his commanders. We strike hard and fast at their military targets, orbital platforms around Earth, the defense stations on their moon, the armed mining facilities in the asteroid belt, and the military bases on Mars. Once their defensive capabilities are destroyed, they will have no choice but to surrender. The Council fleet moved into position over several weeks, approaching human space from multiple directions to avoid detection. They used stealth technology and careful timing to coordinate their arrival at the edge of the human solar system, but humans had learned from their first encounter with Council technology. Admiral Chen had ordered the construction of long-range sensor networks throughout the outer solar system. When the Council fleet was still days away from their targets, human monitoring stations detected the approaching ships. 48 vessels, Admiral, reported Commander Jackson from the deep. Space Monitoring Center. Multiple ship types, all armed, approaching from vectors that would allow simultaneous strikes on our major installations. Admiral Chen was in the war room at Luna Base when the report came in. The walls were covered with displays showing the positions of human ships and installations throughout the solar system. Red dots marking the approaching enemy fleet appeared on the tactical display. Time to intercept? She asked. At current speed, they'll be in firing range of our outer defenses in 60 hours. Admiral Chen studied the display carefully. The enemy had more ships and better technology, but humans had advantages too. They knew their own territory perfectly. They had been preparing for this possibility for months, and they had learned some very interesting things from studying captured alien technology. Send general alert to all commands, she ordered. Operation Defender is now active. All civilian personnel to designated safe zones. All military units to combat readiness. Throughout human space, the response was immediate and coordinated. Families moved into underground shelters that had been prepared on every world and station. Military personnel took their positions at weapons and defensive systems. Civilian ships moved away from potential battle zones while armed vessels moved toward their assigned positions. The humans had been busy during the 6 months since first contact. Every piece of alien technology they had observed had been studied and analyzed. Human engineers had worked day and night to understand Council weapons and defenses, and they had made some remarkable discoveries. Most importantly, they had figured out how to detect ships using Council stealth technology. Human sensors had been modified to search for the specific energy signatures that alien ships produced, even when those ships were trying to hide. The Council fleet approached their targets in what they believed was complete secrecy. Admiral Dex Moran was confident that the first human ships would not even detect them until the weapons started firing. He was wrong. "Admiral, human ships are moving," reported his sensor officer. "They appear to be taking defensive positions around their installations." Admiral Dex Moran frowned at his display. "How can they know we are here? Our stealth systems should make us invisible to their primitive sensors." "Unknown, sir, but their response patterns suggest they know exactly where we are and what we're planning." The element of surprise was gone, but the Council fleet still had superior numbers and technology. Admiral Dex Moran decided to proceed with the attack. "All ships, engage targets as planned. Show these humans the price of defying the Galactic Council." The battle began at Yo 347 Earth Standard Time with a coordinated strike on human orbital installations. Council ships dropped out of stealth and opened fire with plasma cannons and energy weapons, expecting to overwhelm human defenses quickly. They immediately discovered that humans had been preparing for this attack. The orbital platforms around Earth were protected by new defensive systems that humans had built using lessons learned from studying Council technology. Energy shields flickered to life around human installations, deflecting the first wave of alien attacks. "Impossible," muttered Admiral Dex Moran. "How do they have shield technology?" But the humans had done more than just copy alien defenses. They had improved them. Human shields used a rotating frequency system that made them much harder to penetrate than standard Council defenses. While alien weapons tried to break through these shields, human weapons began firing back. The aliens expected to face primitive chemical rockets and metal projectiles. Instead, they found themselves under attack from weapons that seemed familiar yet different. Human railguns fired projectiles at speeds that approached Council standards, but the projectiles themselves were something new. Instead of simple metal, slugs. Human weapons fired smart ammunition that could change course during flight and adjust its impact based on target characteristics. The projectiles were designed using principles that humans had learned from studying alien energy weapons, combining the physical impact of solid ammunition with some of the penetrating power of energy weapons. "Sir, their weapons are more effective than expected," reported the tactical officer on Admiral Dex Moran's flagship. "We're taking damage to ships that should be immune to their technology." The battle quickly spread throughout the solar system as Council forces struck at multiple targets simultaneously. On Mars, alien ships found themselves facing defensive installations that had been built into the planet's surface, making them nearly impossible to destroy from orbit. In the asteroid belt, mining platforms that had seemed like easy targets revealed hidden weapon systems and began coordinating their fire with deadly effectiveness. But the most shocking discovery came when human ships began counterattacking. During the months since first contact, human engineers had not only studied Council technology but had also captured several alien vessels that had entered human space for reconnaissance. These captured ships had been completely taken apart and analyzed. Every system, every component, every principle of operation had been studied and understood. Human engineers had then built new ships that combined the best of both technologies. The result was vessels that looked human but fought with capabilities that surprised even their own crews. Human ships moved faster than they should have been able to, fired weapons that hit harder than expected, and used defensive systems that seemed to anticipate enemy attacks. "Admiral, we have a problem," reported Captain Veltaran from one of the striking groups. "The human ships are using our own technology against us, but they've modified it somehow. Their weapons are penetrating our shields, and their ships are faster than our targeting systems can track." Admiral Dex Moran watched his tactical display with growing concern. What should have been a quick victory was turning into a real battle. Worse, the humans were learning and adapting even as the fight continued. "Sir, the humans are coordinating their defense in ways we didn't expect," reported his communications officer. They're sharing tactical data between all their units in real time and adjusting their strategies based on our actions. The Admiral realized that the Council had made a terrible mistake. These humans were not like other species they had conquered. Every time a Council weapon found a weakness in human defenses, the humans adapted and closed that weakness. Every time a Council ship used the aftermath of Operation Starfall sent shockwaves throughout human space and beyond. Within hours of the Council fleet's retreat, every human government, corporation, and military organization received the same message from the Terran Defense Force. We are at war. Admiral Chen stood before the emergency session of the United Earth Assembly, the governing body that represented all human colonies and settlements. Representatives from Mars, the Moon, the asteroid belt, and the outer system stations filled the Great Hall, their faces grim with the reality of their situation. The Galactic Council has shown us their true intentions, Admiral Chen said, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber. They attacked our homes, our families, our very right to exist as a free species. This was not a misunderstanding or a diplomatic mistake. This was an attempt to force us into slavery. The hall erupted in angry voices, but Admiral Chen raised her hand for silence. But we also showed them something they did not expect. We showed them that humanity does not break easily. We defended our homes, we adapted to their technology, and we sent them running. President Martinez of the Mars colonial government stood up. Admiral, what are our chances if they return with more ships? If we fight the same way we did 3 days ago, we will lose, Admiral Chen admitted. They have more ships, more resources, and centuries of experience in warfare. But we are not going to fight the same way. She activated a holographic display that showed the entire solar system. The Council thinks like conquerors. They believe that superior technology and numbers will always win, but they have never faced an enemy that thinks like humans do. General Rodriguez, now promoted to head of planetary defense, took over the briefing. We have analyzed every piece of alien technology we captured during the battle. Our engineers have been working around the clock to understand not just how their systems work, but how to improve them. The display showed human engineers swarming over captured alien vessels. In 72 hours, we have learned more about advanced technology than most species learn in decades, but more importantly, we have learned how to make it better. Dr. Sarah Kim, the Chief Technology Officer for the Terran Defense Force, stood up to explain. The Council's technology is very advanced, but it follows predictable patterns. They build weapons to overpower enemies, ships to intimidate opponents, and defenses to stop known types of attacks. Everything they build is designed to fight other Council species using Council tactics. But we don't use Council tactics, Admiral Chen continued. We use human tactics. We adapt, we improvise, we find weaknesses, and we exploit them. Most importantly, we learn from every encounter and share that knowledge instantly across our entire military. The display changed to show production facilities across human space. Every shipyard, every factory, every manufacturing center in human territory is now working on the same project, building a fleet that can take the fight to the Council. Representative Wong from the Asteroid Mining Consortium raised her hand. Admiral, how can we possibly build enough ships to fight an entire galactic empire? We're not building ships to fight an empire, Admiral Chen replied. We're building ships to fight a war. There's a difference. General Rodriguez explained. Further, the Council has been at peace for so long that they've forgotten how to fight a real war. They think in terms of conquering primitive species, not battling an enemy that fights back effectively. Their ships are built for show and for crushing weak opponents, not for surviving against enemies who can hurt them. Human ships will be different, Dr. Kim added. Smaller, faster, harder to detect, and designed specifically to exploit the weaknesses we've found in Council technology. We're not trying to match their firepower. We're trying to make our firepower more effective than theirs. The transformation. of human space began immediately. The attack had united humanity in a way that political speeches and treaties never could. Every human settlement, from the massive cities of Earth to the smallest research stations in the outer system, became part of the war effort. On Mars, underground factories that had been mining equipment plants were converted to produce ship components. The low gravity and lack of atmosphere made Mars perfect for building large structures that would be launched into space. In the asteroid belt, mining operations became the foundation for a network of hidden shipyards. Asteroids were hollowed out and converted into construction facilities, their rocky exteriors hiding the advanced manufacturing taking place inside. On Earth, the entire industrial capacity of the planet was redirected toward military production. Factories that had made civilian vehicles now produced military transports. Electronics manufacturers created advanced sensor systems and computer networks for the new fleet. But the most important change was in the way humans thought about warfare. Every lesson learned from the first battle was studied, analyzed, and incorporated into new tactics and strategies. Human military academies began teaching courses on adaptive warfare and technological integration under combat conditions. The key to human strategy was speed of adaptation. Council forces had centuries of experience, but they were used to fighting enemies who remained predictable throughout a conflict. Humans changed their tactics constantly, learning from each encounter and sharing that knowledge throughout their forces in real time. Captain Lisa Park, commander of the destroyer UES Defiance, watched her engineering team install new weapons, systems based on captured alien technology. "How long until we're operational?" she asked. 6 hours, Captain," replied Chief Engineer Thompson. "But these aren't just copies of Council weapons. We've made some improvements. The improvements were significant. Human engineers had discovered that Council energy weapons could be made much more efficient by changing the frequency modulation patterns. Council shields could be made stronger by using rotating defensive algorithms instead of static patterns. Council sensors could be made more sensitive by incorporating principles from human radar and sonar technology. Most importantly, humans had learned to combine technologies in ways that Council species never attempted. Human ships now carried weapons that mixed energy projection with kinetic impact, defensive systems that combined physical armor with energy shields, and sensor arrays that used both alien scanning techniques and human detection methods. The first, new human warships began coming off the production lines 6 weeks after the Council attack. They looked different from anything that had existed before in the galaxy. Sleek and angular, built for speed and maneuverability rather than intimidation, they carried weapons and defensive systems that were theoretically impossible according to Council engineering principles. Admiral Chen inspected the first completed vessel, the UES Retribution, at the Luna shipyards. "How does she compare to Council ships?" she asked the design team. "Ship for ship, we're still outgunned," admitted Chief Designer Roberts. "But that's not how we're planning to fight. These ships are designed to work together as coordinated hunting packs. 3 or 4 human ships working together should be able to take down any Council vessel." The psychological impact of the Council attack had been even more important than the technological advances. Humans had always been a divided species, with different nations, corporations, and colonies often working at cross purposes. The unprovoked attack had changed that completely. For the first time in human history, the entire species was working toward a single goal. Political differences were set aside, corporate competition was redirected toward military efficiency, and colonial independence movements became recruitment drives for the common defense. On Earth, recruitment centers were overwhelmed with volunteers. Young people who had planned careers in business, science, or the arts now trained to become starship crews and planetary defenders. Older citizens with technical skills found themselves working in defense plants and research laboratories. The asteroid belt communities, always fiercely independent, pooled their resources to create hidden supply depots and emergency shelters for human ships. The Mars colonies, despite their ongoing disputes with Earth over trade policies, opened their shipyards to refugee construction crews from attacked stations. Most surprisingly, human criminals and outcasts also joined the war effort. Pirates who had raided shipping lanes now used their knowledge of hidden routes to scout council positions. Smugglers became couriers carrying vital supplies to remote human outposts. Even corporate executives who had been under investigation for various crimes found their charges, dropped in exchange for using their organizational skills to manage war production. 3 months after the council attack, Admiral Chen received a report that made her smile for the first time since the war began. "Admiral, our new ships are performing beyond expectations in their trials," reported General Rodriguez. "More importantly, we've identified weaknesses in Council fleet formations that we can exploit." "What kind of weaknesses?" Admiral Chen asked. "They fight like they're still dealing with primitive species. Their ships stay in formation patterns that look impressive but leave them vulnerable to coordinated attacks from multiple directions. They use communication protocols that we've learned to intercept and decode. Most importantly, they don't expect their enemies to have the same technology they do." 2 years had passed since the Council's attack on human space. 2 years of constant preparation, learning, and building. 2 years of humanity transforming from a young species taking its first steps among the stars into something that made even ancient civilizations nervous. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Terran Resolve, humanity's first true battleship. The massive vessel was a monument to human engineering and determination, built using the best of both human and alien technology, improved and refined through months of testing and modification. Around her, the largest fleet in human history was preparing for departure. 300 ships of various sizes and capabilities, all crewed by humans who had trained for this moment since the day the Council had dared to attack their homes. "Final status report," Admiral Chen requested. "All ships report ready for departure," replied Captain Morrison, her chief of staff. "Fleet composition: 50 heavy battleships, 100 destroyers, 80 frigates, and 70 support vessels. Total crew: 45,000 personnel." Admiral Chen nodded as she studied the tactical display showing the positions of her ships. Each vessel represented thousands of hours of work by human engineers, workers, and soldiers. Each crew member was a volunteer who had chosen to leave the safety of human space to carry the fight to the enemy. "Intelligence update on targets?" she asked. Commander Zhang, her intelligence officer, activated a holographic display showing the nearby star systems, controlled by council members. Primary targets confirmed: the Nexari Hegemony Fleet Base at Kepler 442, the Cathari Empire military shipyards at Wolf 359, and the Joint Council Command Center at Proxima Centauri. These were not random targets. For 2 years, human scouts had mapped Council territory, identified key military installations, and gathered intelligence on enemy capabilities. The coming offensive was not designed to conquer territory or destroy civilian populations. It was designed to send a very specific message. Humanity remembered its enemies, and there would be consequences for attacking human families. "Sir, we're receiving a priority message from Earth," reported the communications officer. Admiral Chen accepted the transmission, which came directly from the President of the United Earth Government. "Admiral Chen, you have the full authorization of every human government and colony. Bring our people home safely, and make sure the galaxy understands what happens when someone attacks humanity." "Understood, Mr. President. Terran Resolve out." Admiral Chen looked around the bridge at her crew. These men and women had trained together for months, learning to operate systems that combined human intuition with alien precision. They were ready. "All ships, this is Admiral Chen. Today we begin Operation Homecoming. For 2 years, we have prepared for this moment. Today we show the galaxy that humanity does not forget its enemies and does not forgive unprovoked attacks on our families." She paused, thinking of the families that had died in the Council attack, the colonies that had been damaged, and the message that needed to be sent. "We are not conquerors. We are not invaders. We are humans defending our right to exist as a free species. Execute Operation Homecoming. The human fleet engaged their faster-than-light drives and disappeared into the darkness between stars. Their first target was the Nexari Hegemony fleet base at Kepler 442. The Nexari were the same species that had led the original diplomatic mission and had commanded ships during the attack on human space. Admiral Chen had decided they deserved to be the first to experience human vengeance. The Nexari base was an impressive structure built around a natural asteroid formation and protected by energy shields and defensive platforms. It housed over 100 ships and served as the regional headquarters for Nexari military operations. Admiral Korth Avon, the same officer who had led the failed diplomatic mission to Earth, was in command of the base when human ships appeared at the edge of the system. "Sir, we have unknown contacts approaching," reported his sensor officer. "Configuration suggests human origin, but the number of ships, this can't be correct." Admiral Korthaven looked at his displays in disbelief. The humans were supposed to be a minor species with primitive technology. The fleet approaching his base looked like something that belonged to a major galactic power. "How many ships?" he asked. "Sensors indicate 300 vessels, sir, all showing advanced propulsion and weapons signatures." For a moment, Admiral Korthaven wondered if this was some kind of mistake. 2 years ago, humans had barely been able to defend their home system. Now they were attacking Council territory with a fleet that rivaled anything the galaxy had seen. "Send a message to the approaching fleet," he ordered. "Demand they identify themselves and state their intentions." The reply came quickly, transmitted on all frequencies so that every ship in the system could hear it clearly. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Terran Defense Force. You attacked our homes, our families, and our right to exist as a free species. We have come for justice. Surrender your military vessels and prepare to face the consequences of your actions." Admiral Korthaven stared at his communication screen. "Justice? Consequences? These humans think they can threaten the Nexari hegemony?" He activated the base's defensive systems and sent emergency messages to nearby Council fleets. "All ships, prepare for battle. Show these primitives what happens when they dare to attack a Council installation." The battle that followed was unlike anything the Nexari had ever experienced. Human ships moved in coordinated formations that seemed to anticipate every defensive move the aliens made. Their weapons penetrated Nexari shields with ease, and their tactics were constantly changing as they adapted to enemy responses. But the most shocking thing was the efficiency of the human attack. They did not waste time or ammunition on dramatic displays of firepower. Every shot was carefully aimed at specific targets. Every movement was designed to achieve maximum effect with minimum risk to human crews. Within 3 hours, the Nexari base was completely neutralized. Every military vessel had been captured or destroyed, every defensive platform had been eliminated, and Admiral Korth Avon found himself standing in his command center surrounded by human soldiers. "Admiral Korth Avon," said the human officer who had captured him. "I am Colonel Park, Terran Defense Force. You are now a prisoner of war. Your base and your ships are under human control." "This is impossible," Admiral Korthaven said. "You cannot defeat the entire Galactic Council with one fleet." Colonel Park smiled grimly. "Admiral, this is not our entire fleet. This is just the first wave." As news of the attack on the Nexari base spread throughout Council territory, panic began to set in among alien military commanders. The humans had not just won a battle. They had completely overwhelmed a major Council installation without suffering significant losses. At the Cathari Empire shipyards, Admiral Rex Moran received emergency orders to prepare his defenses for possible human attack. The Cathari had been confident in their military superiority for centuries, but the reports from Nexari space were deeply troubling. "Sir, long-range sensors detect human ships approaching," reported his tactical officer. Same configuration as the fleet that attacked the Nexari base. Admiral Rex Moran looked at his defensive preparations. The shipyards were protected by orbital platforms, minefields, and a fleet of 60 warships. It should be more than enough to stop any attack. All ships, prepare for combat. We will show these humans that the Cathari Empire does not surrender to anyone. The human attack on the Cathari shipyards was even more devastating than the assault on the Nexari base. Human ships used tactics that seemed impossible according to Council military doctrine. They attacked from multiple directions simultaneously, used their superior speed and maneuverability to avoid enemy fire, and coordinated their assaults with precision that no Council species had ever achieved. The Cathari discovered that human weapons had been specifically designed to exploit weaknesses in Council defensive systems. Energy shields that had protected alien ships for centuries failed against human weapons that used rotating frequency patterns. Armor that could withstand plasma cannons was penetrated by human projectiles that combined kinetic impact with energy discharge. Most importantly, the humans fought with a determination and efficiency that the Cathari had never encountered. There was no grandstanding, no attempts to intimidate the enemy, no wasted effort on impressive displays. Every human action was focused on achieving victory as quickly and efficiently as possible. The shipyards fell in less than 4 hours. By the time human forces reached the Joint Council Command Center at Proxima Centauri, representatives from all 12 Council species were waiting for them. The command center had been evacuated of non-essential personnel, and senior officers from every major Council military organization had gathered to negotiate with the humans. Admiral Chen's fleet took positions around the station but did not immediately attack. Instead, she requested a conference with Council leadership. The meeting took place in the same type of chamber where the original decision to attack humanity had been made. But now the positions were reversed. Council members who had once debated whether humans deserved consideration as equals now found themselves facing a species that had proven its military superiority.